Hello, saxophone players. Very excited to be here with you today. When I was in fourth grade, saxophone was the first instrument that I started on. So this brings back a lot of memories, having my very first lesson. So here we go. You all have your cases by now, and I'm sure you have probably opened them, but just wanted to point out a couple things. We don't want to sit in a chair with the case on our lap and open it. You may have noticed there are a lot of parts to the saxophone. We don't want them to fall. So I recommend that you sit on the floor and put it together, or you sit at a table and you have the case on the table so nothing will fall down. I have it on a cart here so I can demonstrate everything to you. The cases all open differently. Some of them have zippers, some of them have latches. This one has a latch, so you can see the latches come down, latches come down, and then we carefully lift up the lid to make sure, we don't want to open it upside down. And inside, we have all the parts. And the main part, the exciting part with all the buttons and keys, is our saxophone body, okay? We'll get to that whole part in another lesson. In this lesson, we're going to start with the extra things in the case. So let me close this one moment. I have the parts out that I want to show you. Let me just put this down. In your case, you will have seen this piece. It may have been coiled up on you. Okay, this is called the neck strap. And this is what holds the saxophone up. I want you to notice that there is a hook. That part will get attached to the saxophone. There is a middle plastic part. On mine, it kind of looks like a rectangle. That's the part that has to go up. So before we put this on, I want you to see if you could practice pulling that plastic thing up and then bringing it back down. It seems simple, but it can be a little tricky. So today in this lesson, we're not going to actually attach this to the saxophone, but the very first thing I do anytime I play the saxophone is the neck strap goes around our neck first. While holding on to, remember the hook I mentioned? While holding on to the hook, I'm going to pull the plastic part up until the plastic part is sort of the top of my chest. I'm wearing a tie, so it's right underneath the knot of the tie. So right there. You don't want this to hang low, and you don't want it to choke you way up high, but somewhere the top of your chest, I would say. Okay, so that's the neck strap. You will see in your case the neck. This part is called the neck. You will also find what is called a reed. It should be in a plastic case. Some of the plastic cases look different, but that's what mine looks like. And we have our mouthpiece. Now mine has a blue mouthpiece cover. Yours is probably black. This is the mouthpiece. And this is called the ligature. It's important that you familiarize yourself with all the names of the parts. So when we're talking and I say, get out the neck, get out the mouthpiece, get out the reed, that you know what we're talking about. So again, we have the neck, the reed, ligature, mouthpiece, mouthpiece cap. We are going to assemble right now what I call the mini saxophone. All right. First thing we want to do is take the mouthpiece and slide it onto the neck. I want you to notice that the neck has a hole here, and the mouthpiece has a hole right there. We want it to look like this. So the mouthpiece hole is facing down, and the hole of the neck is facing down. Press that down a moment. Next, we're going to take the reed carefully out of the case. Now, if we were sitting together right now, I always have everybody repeat after me. I will never, ever, 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 ever touch the tip of the reed. If you touch the tip of the reed, that skinny little edge there, it could break. If the reed breaks at all, it's not any good any longer. Now, it's just wood. It's actually cane. And we're going to take that and put it in our mouth. So you just want to wet it for a little bit. Maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds. And we need to have the reed moist, get that wet in order to, not soaking wet like under a kitchen faucet or something, but just, you know, in your mouth is enough. Now, I want you to notice there's a curve of the top of the reed. It's curved. On the back of the reed, on your reeds that you have in your case, it should have a name stamped on it. It should probably say Rico, and it should say maybe a 2 on it. But you will notice there's one part of the reed that is completely flat. That's the back part. And then the front part looks like it was shaved a little bit. So we want to take the flat part. We're going to pick up our neck and mouthpiece. And we're going to take the curve of the mouthpiece and the curve of the reed, and we are going to line them up like this. I use my hands to maneuver that up there. So now they are lined up. Now I need to take the ligature. The ligature slides over top of the reed and mouthpiece. Now this is really, really important now. This ligature has to be below the black part of the mouthpiece there. Then I tighten the screws. Now I didn't tell you to do this, but if the screws were tight in the beginning, then you should have loosened them up. So now it's loose, or it's tightened, sorry. It's tightened on there. And now I have the reed facing down, the whole of the neck facing down, and we just assembled our mini saxophone. Okay? So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to blow into the mouthpiece and make your first sound. But for your very first assignment, very first video, this is what we want to accomplish. This is what it has to look like, the mini saxophone. Now, before we go, we need to take it apart. Every time you're done playing in the saxophone, playing with the saxophone, you take the reed off. Carefully put it back into the plastic holder. Take your mouthpiece and ligature off and put your mouthpiece cap back on. Now we have all of our parts separate, and put those back in the case. All right, look ahead down below for the next video, and in that video we'll talk about making our first sounds, okay? Great job, guys.